So are you shocked? Yes, we are if we've got a solid front axle pretty much. That's where you see shocks most of the time. And on that nitro that I just did a video on, that's why we had shocks in the back and we have the struts in the front. Speaking of which, that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go over how to do struts on a 2007 Dodge Nitro. This is a strut because it has a cup and the spring's incorporated with it. And then this is a shock. You just have solid bolts on either end. And sometimes they'll be substituted with a stud like this on the end. But you'll typically have a ring mount like that and you'll know it's a shock. If it has a ring on one end, that's a pretty safe rule. And if it has a cup on one end, that's another good rule that that's a strut and that's a shock. So the way that the Nitro is set up is it has the dual wishbone suspension. You'll see this on Hondas oftentimes. And I'd call it a triple wishbone suspension when it's a four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive, because you'll most often have an axle shaft that goes right through this one, CV axle, whatever you want to call it, that goes straight out to here and it goes through a third wishbone. So it's kind of a triple wishbone if you ask me. So when you're changing the struts and it's a dual wishbone suspension, the key things that you have to undo are you have to undo the upper ball joint, and what that does is allows all the rest of this to hang down and this to go up. And then you have to undo the bolt here and here. These will always connect. They'll go through the upper control arm or somewhere in the vicinity, but they'll connect to the lower control arm and give the support there. So there'll be some kind of a link here or it'll bolt right to it. So you gotta undo this to kind of get them to separate, and then undo that, and then undo the top, and then come out. Let me show you on the Nitro. Thanks for the stickers, Steve, that's awesome. So here we are on the Nitro. So to get into this, what we're gonna do, or what was done, you can see I've got the new strut in. This is the after the fact explanation. So we're gonna undo this, and then that's gonna create the drop down that we need to get it out. And then here's that third wishbone, if you will. You see it ends here, or starts there, goes up, across, and down. So you got to pull this one out, and then you also have to undo the top up here. You can see the back side of the bolts. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can't really see up in there, but that's what you do is you open this up. You know, say we just wanted to undo this and try to drop it out. What's going to happen is it's going to be like a 4-link thing, even though there's shared links here and here. Everything's gonna go up and down together. So you have to separate it, and the best way to do it's at the top, because that way it lays out away from the car. And then the other reason why is that way they separate. So this one can go down, and then this one can just come straight out where you have the most clearance to get the thing out of there. To get the bottom half of this wishbone to the strut, it's a 21mm socket. What I do is I'll back it off and then go back on till it's about even with the tip there. And then when it's nice and even, I'll take a hammer and just smack it that way and knock it through. While we're here with that 21, get onto this bolt here. In order to get this off, you've got a split here. If you take a large heavy duty screwdriver like this, you can just put it in there and then twist it. And that'll break the rust up a little bit. Once you've done that, you should be able to pry it down. Just pull on it on each side. It'll be a little stuck. If all else fails, you can also hit it with a hammer. That'll loosen it up. I want 2 hands. So to get the bottom part out, you have to pull the top ball joint stud out. You have to hit this with a hammer to knock it free, but make sure you get the nut off first. This will hold the stud so you can get the nut off. You want to do the same thing on your tie rod end, and then the sway bar bolt, you want to zip that out before you do anything. Once you do those things, it'll give you all the room in the world to drop this down. And you've just got days of room. It's your upper control arm, you've got all this room up in here, and you got all the room that you need to get the strut out. So to get to the top part of the strut, it seems like it's going to be really hard, but it's really not that hard. So the top strut mount has 4 nuts on each side, and on this side to get to it you have to take out the air filter box. And I know that sounds difficult, but it's held in by these little rubber grommets. You don't even have to pull any bolts, you can do it with your bare hand. These are the 3 little arrow type things that hold it in, and then you just unbuckle these. If you wanted to do it completely without any tools, you can do it this way. I just put the air filter here too. The air filter should be upside down, so any dirt that falls on it's on the dirty side. But you could also just undo this with a screwdriver, an 8mm, either here or here. If you pull this one, watch out for your intake air temperature sensor and don't forget to put it back on. You could do it that way. As for this side, you have your electrical distribution center, your fuse box here, and it covers it up. You can see that you've got the same 4 nuts on this side, but there's no battery. The battery's really easy to take out on these. You just pull the nuts on the battery terminals, and then once you've done that, there's just a few bolts. There's one here, one up under here, and another one on top of the strut tower. You can see it looks kind of yellow, so I'll show you where those are. So this is the battery tray. You've got a nut here, here, and then there's another one under this metal bracket, and the metal bracket right there. So 1, 2, 3, and then of course the battery hold down to get the battery out. You got these 2 nuts that I just explained, and then you've also got this guy, and this guy is blocking the top of this one so that you can't get to it real easy. And there's these little tabs on the bottom here. You can see how it's got an opening here and here, and then there's corresponding tabs, and then just 3 bolts. And in order to get to the 3 bolts, you got to pull off the electrical distribution center. You can see how this thing's got these little towers at the top. They all clip in. You don't need any tools to pull it up. But you pull the 3 bolts here and undo the 4 tabs, lift it up, and then you got to push it toward the windshield and then rock it up and out. There's a wire harness that's clipped in here that's going to fight with you, so you want to have a pair of body clip pliers like this. I'll put a link in the description for these. This might seem hard, it might look hard, but it goes pretty quick. So 3 nuts, 3 bolts, 4 tabs, 1 battery hold down, 2 nuts on the battery terminal. So once you've got this all out of the way, so here's what those tabs look like. You just push them in with your thumb just a little bit and they unbuckle. So what I'll do is I'll pull up on it and I'll squeeze on both sides. I'll squeeze with my pinky and with my thumb and pull up one side, and I'll do the same thing on the other pinky and thumb. One of the weird things is you never see a bracket like this with a hinge on it. This actually has a hinge. I don't know if that's to make it easier to get the electrical thing out of the way or getting it out, but yeah, it's got a hinge for some reason. Looks like a lot of extra manufacturing and parts, but there it is. Naturally, once you get access to these nuts, you want to undo them. When you get the new strut out, you got to twist it counterclockwise. Maybe push it in and do that, and then it'll grow from there. Slowly. You got a little push in and twist so it's short so they can box it. Next thing is you just compress it. You can use any kind of strut spring compressor you want on these just about. Just make sure you get it as centered as you can. See, I've got my gap there. So I'll pull the nut out and swap everything over. It's nice that it comes with a new boot or protector or whatever. And today's one of those days where I just don't feel like doing crap. I'm sick. Time to whip out the 1/4" sockets. 7 doesn't, 8 should, but I was just here with 8 and 8 didn't work either. The hell is it? It's flat on the sides. Peachy. I guess there's some special thing you're supposed to be able to fit over that. So I've altered the shape of these just a little bit on the grinding wheel so that they're rounded, so it'll fit inside of this. Why? Chrysler, that's why. Jiminy Christmas. Can't grab it around the side here either because that boot's in the way. This comes with a new one, which leads me to believe the way you get into this is to take a knife and cut it. These Milwaukee knives are so stinking nice. There we go. Now you can grab onto this stupid piece of shit with your vice grips. This thing's just shot a shot, so I don't really care what it does to it. A little concerned about getting the new one on though, huh? These will help to hold it. Man, I just need to call it quits and go watch some Netflix. I am for shitsled. I gotta salvage this off the old one and we'll put the new one on. So to get the little rubber bushing off the other one, you just take a screwdriver, put it against the floor, shove down, and then just kind of, what I do is I just shove it in a tangential line. It's got a little key on it, and by that I mean this little bump right here. So you just cue this up like that, and then shove it up the arse of the spring, and you're in. Get your new nut. Fortunately, these are, nope, yeah, they're hexagonal, as they should frickin' be. Dude, why would you not do it hexagonal? Come on, Chrysler, dicks. So this is the 6mm, this is 15. I've got a pass-through Craftsman, and I've got a little socket here. So I've got the little 6mm set to reverse, and I've got the 15mm pass-through set to tighten. You just do the funky frickin' chicken on it. As you get tightened up, you'll find it's better to just move the big one once you've made some ground on this thing. once you get it snugged down, you can go back to your impact if you like. Get that last little squeeze out of it. We got to loosen this spring tension. While we do that, we want to position the bushing underneath. If you wanted to grease the bottom where the spring meets, that's not a terrible idea. Sometimes that can save you a bunch of squeak later. I'm just going to put some silicone grease on it. Ooh, yummy. Just like anywhere that you have steel to rubber, like bushings. A real good chance it's going to squeak if you don't silicone paste it. So, what the heck? Silicone paste it. You hear that squeaky? That's what I'm talking about. All right, once you got it keyed up, let her rip. Whew. No energy today. Oh, wants to go that way. Just let go. There we go. Fun. So getting this thing in here is so easy. You just slip it up in there, do up your bolts, 18mm at the top, put this on. I just get it all the way snug, just wiggle it back and forth. There's an alignment line for this little hollow. So you just get it twisted till it's all the way up till it hits that curvature and stops, and then go ahead and bolt that on. This one goes on a little bit later, but I had issue getting the bolt off of here. There's too much rust. So I got a 14 by 1.5 die from my die set. I just chased the thread all the way up. Just put some penetrating oil on it. You just run that up and get your threads clean. That'll save you all kinds of headache and hassle when you go to put the nut back on. So otherwise this is just gonna spin. Ain't nobody got time for that. Now if your stud here and your ball joint's turning, you can take a pry bar, put it in the spring, or just put it anywhere that you can grab onto. I like to do the spring and just shove it down. Shoving it down puts it into the collar, and then you can get your nut to go the rest of the way. Again, cleaning the threads up sure helps a lot. Just make sure that you're not cutting new ones. You're just cleaning the old ones. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to click thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'd love to see you in the comments. If you learned anything new, let me know. Be sure to check the show more for any pertinent information. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I've got the links down there below. If you got, it's getting to be the end of the year. If you're the boss or you know the boss and you need a charitable deduction that's tax deductible, charitable donation that's tax deductible, I've got words. I've got a great charity, my favorite charity in the world, the Glute One Foundation. The link's in the description below. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Hey, guess what? Tomorrow's December 14th on Monday. That's my birthday. Woohoo! Happy birthday to me. Tax deductions are easy. Donate $5 to Glute One Foundation. And tell them Brian's Mobile One sent me. Thank you. Bonus footage at the end. People are asking, how did that wheel turn out when you had that lug nut from hell? Well, after the torch and the chisel and the assistant bracing it and the plasma cutter, I think it turned out pretty good. But long story short, it's about a 12-foot wheel, meaning that if you're 12 feet away, 8 feet away, it looks okay. See, this one's non-affected. It looks good. This one has been beat to piss, sanded, and re-clear coated. So when you get closer and closer to it, you can easily tell which one got hit because there's a little chunk out of it from the drill. But other than that, it's not bad. There's a little black in there. And then the biggest thing was just the dings. It got really dinged up just because I went Rage Monster on it and I was really impatient. So that's just more of that gel stuff that was on there. But it's not terrible, but it's not great. Chris Fix has a great video on how to recondition wheels like this. He did one on a Cadillac. I did not have the patience or the wherewithal to do that. This could have looked a lot better if I'd A, not been such a redhead and gone Rage Monster on it, B, taken the time to clean it up and polish it up right, or C, just drill through the wheel stud to begin with. That's what I really should have done, either with the plasma cutter, which is what I ended up doing, or with just a regular drill. I mean, basically you bore out that wheel stud and then it's not going to matter what's going on with the lug nut. Shout out to Steve Robb for sending me some stickers to my P.O. box. He was the first one to notice and find my P.O. box thing in the show more and sent me some stickers. I showed up and I was like, yeah. I was really excited to see him. Thanks, Steve.